Well, hello. My name is David Pandone. I'm here with my friend Merrick Fila, and we are on opposite sides of the planet, which I just get a good kick in the head about. Merrick and I are going to do a podcast. We're going to bring up some topics and things like that. And first, we thought we'd introduce ourselves, and we'll tell you how we met. I mean, we're obviously in different age sectors. You might look at me and go, "Okay, Boomer," and you're probably going to do that a lot. And Merrick, let's see, Merrick, are you about 30 now? 32?
29, 30 next year.
29. Cool. Okay. Well, I turned 55 this past year. I've been around a while. So we're gonna cover some topics because Merrick and I met in a classroom when he was taking my business class back when I was teaching high school, and I just thought he was a great student, and he enjoyed the class, and it was fun. It was a smaller class. It was 15, 20 students, which is really cool because you actually get to know the students. Um, and he and I always enjoyed chatting, and we kept in touch on what, Facebook, I think it was.
Yes, it was Facebook first.
Yeah, Facebook, and then we uh, Diddy bopped over here to Discord, and we started talking about, hey, we ought to have a podcast and chat about some things, and it's going to be interesting because not only on are we on other sides of the planet, but we're also in different age groups, so we're coming at things from a lot of different ways. So, Merrick, why don't you tell our audience some of the things that you're interested in and some of the things that make you smile?
Well, first off, hi everybody. I haven't said officially hi to everybody, so hello. Yes, I lived in Phoenix for about 8 years, and my last year in high school, I met my teacher David Pendon. It was first time I was introduced to stock marketing. That's when I kind of fell in love with that. Then it turned a little bit into economics. Then I went to management in my college here in Poland, and I ended up as an IT guy, DevOps engineer. Other than that, for my career, I do racing, rally racing cars, all amateur. Before all that, I played soccer amateur as well. And now, once David and I started to talk, we had many topics and endless chats on Facebook to talk about, and I figured out we could start a podcast to see different perspectives from younger generation, older generation, United States point of view, European point of view. And I think that's it from me.
Very good. A little bit about myself. I used to teach high school. I think teaching is my skill set, but I think the good Lord made me a teacher, not the Arizona or the Ohio State Board of Education. Um, so I've been a teacher for a long time. I started teaching music. I've actually got a music degree. I play drums. I play guitar. I've written some songs. I haven't recorded them yet, which is on my list of things to do. I also have an interest in gaming, which Merrick and I also share, although we haven't actually shot at each other online yet, but we'll probably end up doing that at some point in time. Um, I've got an interest in photography. I've got a couple of businesses under my belt. I've written a couple books. A couple of the businesses that I'm running three at the moment that basically marshal my attention. One is a book that I wrote called Money Smart, and I help people actually work with their budgets and take control of the money coming in, going out, so they end up keeping more of it, which is important. I'm also in the finance industry where I help people protect themselves in the U.S. specifically, and licensed in Arizona, California, and Michigan. I help people protect themselves from the people in this world that would like to relieve them of the money they've earned, which are the people on Wall Street and the people in our government that want to just tax you into oblivion. So that business helps people protect themselves there. And then as we got into this COVID-19 lockdown situation, a lot of those clients kind of evaporated, and I ended up with a lot to say about how politicians are treating people, and thought, well, how's a constructive way to actually say some of these things? And I thought, well, if I put it on a T-shirt, that's like non-confrontational, right? So I started putting some of my artwork because I could use Photoshop, but I've done some graphic design stuff and photography. I started putting things on T-shirts, and I've just been having a ball with that. And the one I did yesterday, Merrick, you'll love this, is I did a rendition of a trumpet, and next to it it says you. It says brassy across the top, and it says you won't believe what I can do with my lips. So they're that kind of T-shirts, and of course that brings together my interest in music and my interest in graphic arts and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of stuff over there. There's stuff on music. I'm wearing one today. This one says groove. That's one of my designs, and I've got some stuff over there that's patriotic too. So I definitely don't sit around wondering, bored, wondering what I'm going to do next. So
You do definitely more than I do.
yeah, well, I've been around a while. So we're going to cover three topics today, and the three topics we're going to cover. And here's the format of what we plan to do for a podcast. You already know who we are and the perspectives that we're coming from, but we picked three topics today. And what we thought we'd do is we'd do two subtopics that we'll cover for 7 minutes, and then one main topic which we'll cover for 14 minutes. And I dropped this idea to Merrick in our chats on Discord, and I said, maybe we'll give the audience at some point in time a way to upvote these. So if we cover something for 7 minutes and you don't think we've covered it enough, you want to ask some questions, you want us to come back to it, you can upvote it, and we'll bring it back on another podcast and talk about it again. So it's we're looking for ways to be interactive. What'd you think about that idea, Merrick?
Definitely agree. I just noticed that didn't hide the OBS for next 6 minutes, but I think we can cut that out later.
Okay. Well, we're learning here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so our first topic is gun laws and comparing them as they are different in the U.S. and in Poland. And I'll just start with saying that the U.S. has it written into their constitution in the first 10 additions to that constitution called the Bill of Rights. And they're actually called amendments to the Constitution. And the Second Amendment says that the rights of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. And how are things looking in Poland at that point? Does Poland have laws to that effect?
Yeah, I did a lot of reading. Actually, I came across gun laws way, way back when I moved to Poland because I wanted to get an airsoft gun, and I wanted to see if it's even legal to own a airsoft gun. Yes, it is legal. You can own a regular airsoft gun up to 6 millimeters, I believe. I don't know. It's very hard to pronounce. European transitions into English. But yes, so without permission, you can own a regular airsoft gun that is plastic ball. It's no bigger than 6 millimeters. And you can also own a regular gun that is on black powder. Um, those are guns you can own without any permission, without any consension, and so on. If it comes
Is the
to, yeah,
question for you, is the black powder, um, is that a front end loader, one round at a time, black powder type thing?
um, I think so that it can go because I saw some guns that are done black powder that look much more like real guns, but I haven't searched that much into it. I believe our Polish laws are not written that good. There's probably one of those things that it bypasses the law. But yes, definitely, if it's black powder, no uh, permit needed so far.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that you need to understand about the U.S. laws is when the founding fathers back in 1775, 76 started to put this together, um, and actually after our revolutionary split from Britain, they started to put a constitution together, and they started to talk about the things that were important. And one of the things that they felt were important was the fact that people have a right to defend themselves. Um, So you look at, one of the classic examples that I use is the fact that, no gazelle is obligated to be lunch for a cheetah. No pigeon is obligated to be dinner for a hawk, and no woman alive is obligated to have some man who may outweigh her by 50, 80, 100 pounds, to have, you know to exercise his way with her. And if she's got a concealed carry weapon and can pull one out of her purse and defend herself with 5 or 6 rounds, doesn't she have the right to do that? I would say so. Okay. So they looked at this and they say, well, everybody has a right to defend themselves against people that would oppress them and threaten them with violence. Go ahead. Did you have something to add?
No, no, I'm just listening. It's so much different than here in Poland because um, you can have there is a law when we're talking about the like modern guns. I can't say real, but modern guns. There is a law where I think it is given by the court where you're in a danger of your life, and we're not counting here police and army, just a regular person. When you're in danger, when you're afraid of your life, and it is shown by the court that you're actually in danger, you can have a concealed weapon. But to my knowledge, I don't know anybody that is able to get that. It'll probably be involved into. It'll probably involve some rich businessmen, politicians, maybe somebody that is afraid of the mafia. But like as regular people, we are not allowed to have guns.
So you have to in Poland, you have to establish the fact that you are somehow exposed to danger before you can carry or before you can hire security to guard you to carry, correct?
Security, no. Definitely gun. Security, I'm pretty sure if you have money, you can hire any. We have many security companies. I'm pretty sure you can just hire anybody.
Okay,
Um,
which begs the next question: how do you get licensed or certified to carry if you are then working in security?
uh, I think that's one of the written rules in law. If you're in security, you can get licensed, like
I think
police
Merrick.
person.
I think Merrick just opened up a security business, right? So, following that idea in the U.S., everybody has a right to defend themselves. Um, the words, and I should have pulled this up. The words in the U.S. were the fact that um, a well-armed militia is requisite or necessary for the operating of a free state. And in the U.S., the citizens are supposed to be involved in running the government, but uh, people get so busy and things like that, they don't have necessarily time to watch what's going on all the time. It's up to us to be well informed. And the problem we're having right now, recently in the last basically couple of decades, is we can't trust our own news media, which has never happened in the world before. We can't trust our own news media to be giving us accurate information. And if we can't trust our own news media, that's a problem, because how do you know what's going on and what you vote for and things like that if you don't actually if you can't trust the news you're getting? So the thing is about the US is, although that's the standard, that's what we set up, that's what's in the Constitution, and the Constitution is supposed to be ruling our land. We have 50 states which are literally, not figuratively, we call them the United States of America, but a state is a set of laws that govern an area and a people. We actually have 50 independent states, or 50, wrap your head around this, 50 separate countries which have a federation, an agreement to cooperate with one another. And each of those countries, each of those states, have individual laws. And those laws are actually supposed to be higher than the federal government's laws, which, some people can't wrap their head around. What do you mean the US government is not in charge of everything? Have you watched what these guys are doing?
I just want to add something to it. I think you just described. It's very similar what European Union is trying to do, basically.
So they each have their own separate laws, and the way that that impacts the uh, the gun laws here in the U.S. is one state will go, well, you can have a magazine that has 5 rounds, but not 10. No, 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 no. You can't have a magazine that has 10. So if you're carrying a small, let's say caliber like a 9 millimeter, and it's a duty caliber, but if you hit somebody with a 9 millimeter, you're not going to knock them down. If you hit somebody with a 45, you're throwing big rocks with something that's almost a half inch, big. But if you're concealed carry, you want to carry a couple more rounds, they start to go, well, you can have this large magazine, but not that one. And I'm going to a class this afternoon. I just downloaded one of my magazines, and it holds 17 rounds. You're in a firefight, and I'm looking at a holster that will allow you to carry another magazine. So how much trouble are you looking for? None. I'm not looking for any trouble. But have you seen what's been going on in the U.S. Um, with these riots and these protesters? And I know you guys over in Europe are going, we've dealt with that for centuries. I know, right? We're noobs to all this. But you know, what if a group of 15 people end up outside my door because they don't like what Merrick and I are talking about? That has become very real. And what do I do about it? And the person running my pistol class said bear spray is probably the better action right now. I went, but I got 17 rounds in my mag. uh, so the thing is, they start controlling things, and like in certain states, bump stocks. If you know what a semi-automatic weapon is, you pull the trigger, a round goes down range, and the weapon automatically loads another round. And all you have to do is pull the trigger again, and another round goes off. Well, that's semi-automatic. Full automatic weapon is you pull the trigger and it'll empty the magazine. It will fire as soon as it has a round in the chamber and the firing mechanism's ready to go again. That's fully automatic. Most fully automatic weapons are not legal in the US, and they came up with something called a bump stock, which you put it on your weapon, and it's got a spring load in the shoulder, so when you fire that first on semi-automatic, it throws the weapon back, and the spring it throws it forward again and pushes the trigger again. It's the most what do you call it, ghetto thing I've ever heard as far as weapons go. Plus, when I was in the Marine Corps, they taught us you probably don't want to be on fully automatic anyway. And then they changed how the weapons were set up, that even if you have it on auto and you hold the trigger, it'll only fire 3 rounds, because after that, you're no longer on the target anyway. The weapon's jumping all over the place. So they start to make up different rules as to what you're allowed to do. As far as I'm concerned, when the founders set this up, we, the people who are actually where all the power is supposed to be here in the US, we should be running our own government. We, the people, should have access to anything that the police or the military. Remember, this is the gospel according to David here. Uh, we should have access to any weaponry that the police or the military could then be turned and used against us, because the reason we have the right to protect ourselves is specifically against an oppressive, tyrannical government. That's why the US was set up, is that we're not going to have people rule us anymore. We're going to rule ourselves. It is unique in the history of the world, really unique. And it's an experiment that's only 240 some years old. And in world history, we're babes. We really are. Go ahead, Merrick.
Yeah. Other than the timer ran out like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of interesting information. That's why I didn't want to interrupt.
Well,
Yes.
let's tie up that topic with your perspective. Any comments that you have on what I said, or perspective from Poland in particular?
Yes, I haven't read too much about the European rules about gun law, But in Poland, for past few years, there's been a discussion about allowing the guns, and like I think in any other country, there's always two sides to it. Personally, I think Poland is definitely not ready to have a gun law because it is
No.
already let's say crazy enough here. We have crazy people.
Have you visited California lately?
No, not in past 10 years. But that's my personal opinion. Maybe because the laws that are written in Poland, they're not always 100% proof. I don't want to say idiot proof, but like 100% lawyer proof. There's always some way, and they can bypass the law. So that's why I think maybe if we get better at writing the laws, then we will have to go back and think about the gun laws.
Interesting point. Okay, are we ready to go on to the next topic?
Yes, I think so. So let me get the timer, and I'm ready.
Okay, very good. Starting my timer too, so I know where I'm at. Our next topic that we chose to talk about is very pertinent in our economy and our economic situation here in the world today. And we chose gold and silver. Why is there a resurgence, a re-interest in the topic of gold and silver as an investment, and we'll talk about this too as an insurance policy. Um, Merrick, you asked about this topic. Do you want to start this topic with a question or two?
Maybe not question, more or less what I read and few things that came across my mind. So first thing, what I noticed in Poland, definitely in Poland, not sure in the whole Europe. When you buy gold, you are tax free. You don't have to pay tax for it. But when you buy silver, you have to pay 23% tax of it. That's very interesting, and I was wondering how that looks in the United States.
Okay. You said 23% tax
Yes,
on silver?
23. It is called VAT.
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, the difference between gold and silver is usually in historically, the business between countries, because they deal with so much money, is conducted historically in gold because gold is so value dense. And if you look at why that is, it's the amount of gold versus silver that's actually present in the Earth's crust, which is also related to the fact that both of them are elements on the periodic table pertinent to understanding the whole topic. These are elements on the periodic table. They're not compounds. You can't make them out of anything. And I've heard some guys say it that gold and silver are formed when stars supernova. So the chances of us creating them here on the planet are a little slim. So when you look at gold and silver, number one, the average person with their average income isn't going to be able to amass a lot of gold because it's already price prohibitive because there's so much value in such a small space. Okay, that's one thing. Silver historically has been the money of the people, and as a matter of fact, in the U.S., the laws were created, and I am familiar with this topic. 1792, the Coinage Act of 1792, put in place by our Congress, specified what a U.S. dollar is, and if I can remember, I think it's 431 and a quarter grains of fine silver was specified. This is a dollar, okay? And it was based on the fact that we were using a Spanish milled dollar that was actually minted by another government. It was minted by Spain, but there were so many of them that was what's in current circulation. It was what people were using to settle their debts, and that's what the government actually put their stamp of approval on. We're going to have a money system that's based on a commodity, based on real property, something called silver, and that is how we're going to run the money in our country. And then historically, we got way, way, way far away from that. And I owe the entire world an apology from the U.S. that our central bank, called the Federal Reserve, has infected everybody everywhere. But we're not the ones actually running that. It had its strongest foothold here. And because you have freedom here in the U.S., You're not only free to follow your goals and dreams in this direction, you're also free to follow bad ideas in that direction. And some people will use their freedom to do that. And the banksters that run the Federal Reserve also run the World Bank, also run the Bank for International Settlements, and those aren't Americans. I got news for you. It got its toehold here, and we allowed that. That's our fault. But the guys actually running that toehold don't belong to us. And this is an international cabal, a bunch of international criminals, and they've been influencing the gold and silver market for hundreds of years. So why is silver being taxed? Because it's what the people use, and governments historically don't want the people to amass too much power. And money, and this goes back to my book, Money Smart, um, which I think I had written by the back when you were actually in class.
Yes, yes, that was
I think
definitely the
I think
first.
I think I had the first edition
Yeah.
out. One of the things that I've come to in that understanding is money is your stored work energy. So you go to work for a month and you get a paycheck, maybe two of them, maybe get paid every other week or so, but you trade your work for somebody else's dollars, or what's the unit of monetary system in Poland?
Złoty.
I don't know if I could pronounce that. Maybe one of these days we'll be talking long enough, I'll learn Polish. But whatever that is, you're trading your time, you're converting your time, your skill set, your experience, your ability to do a job for somebody, and they are trading you for something that you can then take somewhere else and trade it for food in the refrigerator, gas in the car, a nice dinner out for you and your wife. You can trade it for other things. So that's stored work energy that you can then store and transport. That's part of the understanding of what money is. Money should have a value in and of itself. And what these banksters did was they said, "Oh, you don't want to carry all that heavy stuff around. It clinks in your pockets, and it just makes all this noise. You don't want to do that. Let us write you a receipt, and you can bring your money into the bank, and we'll give you a receipt called currency. It folds. You'll love it. You can print different numbers on it. You'll just love it. It'll fold in your pocket, except for the fact that it's really not worth anything. And as soon as you give a government the opportunity to start printing receipts, they quickly figure out, well, not everybody comes into the bank to claim their money all at the same time. So where am I going with this, Merrick? Can you guess?
Let's play with your money.
Or let's just print some more receipts, right? And they just start making up money. That's what that's the situation we're in now. So they actually found that they can game the system, gain a whole lot more money for basically doing nothing but gaming the system through printing more money. But the last thing they want the average person to do is to empower themselves with more stored work energy and actually have the real money in their hand. All of the Earth's fiat currencies, or I should phrase that differently. All of the governments in the world today, all of them are issuing a fiat currency. It's never been that way before. All of them at once are all issuing receipts rather than using real money. And it's a huge problem.
So, my question still wasn't answered. Do you have a tax in US for silver or
No,
no?
we do not. You basically go out and you buy a commodity. And since gold and silver are a form of money here in the US by law, there is no tax on it. And the really cool thing about that is there's no paper trail either. So you go take your paper currency, you convert it into real commodity, a real form of money, and there's no paper trail. Nobody knows you have it unless you write a check for it, which I tend to resist doing, specifically because there is no paper trail then.
I don't think that will pass in Poland. I think I'm not sure because I haven't bought myself gold or silver yet. But to my knowledge, I think any purchase you do, you have to put, I think, more information than you would like to.
Uh, well, I think it's something that you might want to consider, the average person anywhere in the world. If you have no silver, if you have no gold, what happens when all the receipts revert to their natural value of zero? How do I get anything done? So if your savings is currently, uh, in my case, if my savings in my bank account is currently denominated in dollars and I've got 10, 20, 30, 50,000, what happens when the receipts, the value of those receipts go to zero? 50,000 zeros is
Still
still
zero.
nothing. So at some point in time, if you do have discretionary income, if you do have some savings, you're making your bills, you're putting food on the refrigerator, you're taking care of everything necessary, and you do have enough to put some money aside and save it, not a bad idea to convert some of that. How much is a very personal choice into the commodity gold and silver, because I think with all the world's fiat currencies, all fiat at once, we're going to end up with a problem. If you have nothing to trade, you're going to put yourself in a situation.
And back to Great Crisis of 20 in the 20th century.
And we're at about 10 minutes on this
Yep.
one. Did we cover this enough?
Yeah, I think so. And definitely, I may be wrong in some of my topics. So if you guys know much better, please put the comments in. David and I will love to discuss much more about it and get my facts more straight.
Okay, we had one other topic for today. Are we going to run with that one too?
Yes, of course. I think that's the most
Okay.
important one.
Go ahead. You want to introduce that one?
Yes, the freedom of speech. In theory, everybody has it. In practical way, it's always limited.
Okay.
All right.
We found that here in the U.S. Rearing its ugly head recently, as our culture has been kind of usurped or taken over by a progressive left through music, through movies. It has become culturally acceptable to go, oh, well, you can't talk about that. You can't say you don't like those people. You can't say you don't agree with that. That's hate speech. Uh, no, it's just English, man.
and
If you can't deal with it, I'm sorry. That's kind of where I'm at,
and
which is why
and
I've got a pistol class this morning.
and we have very very similar cases now here in Poland because our government, I'm not sure how you say that in English, but the right side of our government is very against the I don't know how, if I pronounce that correctly, LGBT. Is that correct?
I think so. I
Okay.
don't. I don't spend a lot of time talking about the topic, but I think so.
Okay. So our government is highly against that. Um, and uh, as you can imagine, a lot of people don't agree with that. So there's many issues, many disagreements and protests which are allowed. But to formally have a protest in Poland, you have to put a request for a permit for a protest. Yes, and those protests are not always passed through. So um, it's just my point of view that here in Poland we do have freedom of speech that is controlled very highly. And let's see, another case I can think of. We had an issue where a person had a company printing posters and all those other stuffs, and he didn't agree to print for that rights of LGBT. And there was a very big media news here in Poland that the
Just
person.
to clarify, the printer was asked to do a job for a group that was LGBT,
Yes,
and
exactly.
he declined to do their work.
Yes, exactly.
We have similar things like that here in the U.S. Go ahead.
Exactly. So we had a very highly media case in here. It went to court. I don't remember how that turned out. Did he win or lose? But if I remember correctly, he won this case. So this is a bright future of the freedom of speech because it's his company, and if he doesn't agree with those rights that they're highly talk about, it's, he loses the client. Oh well. Um, it just, it kind of goes both ways. For one way, he has the freedom of speech, he has the freedom of what to do, what not to do, and the other way, the other people want to talk about their stuff. I don't want to get too much political into it, what's right, what's wrong, and how people sometimes talk too loud about stuff and they oversize everything, because we'll go right into what's happening in the United States right now.
You don't want that.
Yeah, no, it will take much longer recording, and I think YouTube will ban me for a 2-hour video. But definitely, we do have a freedom of speech here, but it's highly controlled, and I don't know what else I can say about here.
Okay. The landmark case I think we went across here in the U.S. was the guy who ran a bake shop, um, offered the ability to or the service of creating a cake for a wedding, and he had an LGBT couple come in and say, "Well, we'd like you to make a cake for a wedding," and the man who ran the bakery was Christian, and his Christian values said, "Well, I'll be glad to make you a cake, but not for a wedding." Because my Christian values don't support what you're saying on the cake. So I would have to suspend my beliefs to do that for you, and I'm sorry, I won't do that for you. And they made a huge case out of it, sued him, and I think he lost his business. And you want to talk about trampling all over somebody's rights? Look in a mirror. As far as I'm concerned, you look in a mirror first and, oh, well, I'm just going to take your business because you're not going to do what I want. Okay, 3-year-old, you want to throw another tantrum?
Yeah, that's the freedom of speech is a very thin line, because you know uh, you should be allowed to say whatever you want, believe whatever you want, but if somebody doesn't agree with you, you shouldn't be able to take that away from them. You shouldn't be able, to sue them, to burn their business. Not even talking about that, but you should just accept it, grow up and just take it to another business.
Yeah, and if we're going to get anywhere in the world and create a better situation for everyone in every country, um, we have to be able to talk about ideas. We have to be able to talk. Well, I'm looking at it this way, and you're looking at it that way. What do you see? What do I see? What did you find that works? What did I find that works? And we'll figure out what the answers are. If we can't even talk to each other, because I think, well, you don't like me. I don't even know you yet. Okay, who cares whether I like you or not? Let's solve the problem. In solving the problem, we're going to get to know each other. You might turn on the other end, turn out on the other side of the problem. I do like you. But if we can't even talk to each other, how do we get there? So yeah, you're right. It's a situation, especially today. We find ourselves here in the U.S. culture very polarized at this point. And when you were talking about left and right, I think the terms you may be looking for is the right is usually conservative,
Yep.
and the left has been progressive, or what they used to call liberal.
Yes, exactly.
And a classical liberal is somebody who allows stuff. It's fine. Everything's fine. A libertarian is more towards the middle. I find myself being a little bit more libertarian, meaning that, and I even have a T-shirt to this. I even designed a T-shirt for this. Your life looks like this, and my life looks like this, and every once in a while they overlap. And the only place the government belongs is where our lives overlap, and you and I can't come to an understanding. That's the only place government belongs, in my opinion. Otherwise, until I start to overlap your rights, until your activities start to overlap my rights, you can do whatever you want. I hope you're happy. I hope you make $1 million until you start making $1 million by stealing my car. Now we have a problem. So that's where I think a libertarian comes in is, you know, I hope you have as much freedom that you can make use of and more. All right. Until you start stepping on other people's toes. So that even goes back to the LGBT thing. You know, if you take this the wrong way, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I really don't. And frankly, I don't want to hear about it. Okay. Unless you want to involve me. And I don't want to talk about that in this forum or most others. Okay. That's a very private conversation from where I'm coming from. Uh, if you know, if two guys want to get together, if two girls want to get together, that's their business. You're put in this world to figure things out, as far as I'm concerned. If that's part of what you're figuring out, go for it. It's your life. Do what you want with it. It's where you start looking at other people going, hey man, you're wrong. You shouldn't do that. Why not? I let you do what you want to do. So that's the general spectrum of things. And you know, if we can't talk to each other about different things, and I've got an interesting perspective on truth too. You might want to talk about at some point in time. But if we can't actually, uh, talk and go back and forth in a civil manner, maybe we just need to brew more beer.
Yeah. I think that's sums it up pretty good. I can only agree with you. You know, if we're going back to that LGBT, definitely, you know, it's not like they choose to be that. You know, I don't want to start another topic because we'll go on forever. But you know, it's
Yeah.
it's not like they choose to be that way, that they're attracted to somebody. It's just their way they were born, and you know, it's their freedom of expressing themselves, doing whatever they want. So definitely agree with you, as long as this doesn't involve me in it, and it doesn't involve my family.
Right. Um, Anything else you want to say on the topic?
No, I'm pretty much all out on that. Very interesting to hear what other people will say in the comments. Definitely. We'll see how that
Look
turns
forward to
out.
reading those.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Our first podcast, hopefully one of many.
Well, we covered today, and you might even want to use this as an introduction. We covered gun laws, comparing them U.S. to Poland. From our personal perspective, we talked about the reasons that gold and silver might make sense in today's economy, and we also talked about freedom of speech and some of the differences from perspective in the U.S., which is where I am, and in Poland, which is where America is. And that's what we covered today. And we overshot our timelines by a good 4 or 5 minutes on each one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to redefine our time limits on that, because 7 minutes. I'm pretty sure I didn't cover everything I wanted on the gun laws, and I probably screwed something up as well.
No problem. Well, it's a big internet with a lot of storage space, so we can do a few more of these.
All right. Well, it was good to hear from you, and we'll see you next month.
Very good. Folks, thanks for joining us. This is David and my friend Merrick. And we appreciate your attention and the time spent with us. And we hope you found it interesting and fun to listen to. And we will find a way. For now, in the comments, let us know if we covered something, if you had questions, you want us to come back to a topic. Otherwise, we'll look for some different things to talk about, whatever's pertinent at that time. We thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Take care of yourselves.
Take care.